Hello guys, and welcome back to Car Obsession. As you can see, I'm joined by the brand new Suzuki Swift Sport Hybrid, and normally when I review a car I do a segment called Ask Aaron in which I answer your questions. Now for this car I got more questions than I anticipated, so I thought I'd film a separate video so I can answer all of your questions. So without further ado, let's dig out your questions and answer them. Has the decrease in power impacted how fun the car is? To put it simply, no. In fact, the driving sensation is very similar to that of the non-hybrid model. I think you'd have to drive both back to back to really notice a massive difference. Okay, this car is a little bit heavier as well, but only by 55 kilograms, which, let's face it, isn't a massive amount. So this car is every bit as fun to drive as the non-hybrid model. Fuel mileage. Is the engine responsive? Is it fun to drive? So, officially, Suzuki states this car on a combined run can offer 50.1 mpg. I took it out for a little drive yesterday on a good mix of roads, and I was able to get 51.7 mpg, which is pretty good. I'm sure you'll agree, very good. In fact, it's higher than the official figure. But I did go a little bit further, and I got 59.1 mpg. Although it's worth noting that was at a steady speed of around 40 miles per hour. But even so, to get almost 60 mpg out of a car like this is good going. Okay, yes, I was driving like a bit of a granny, but I was testing the fuel economy. In regard to the engine responsiveness, yes, it is responsive. In fact, it's more responsive than it was before because of the integrated starter generator, which gives the car a little torque boost where the engine isn't quite able to deliver that torque. The old car, the power would start to come in from around 2,500 revs, but this car, it comes in at 2,000 revs. And is the car fun to drive? Look at that smile, look at that smile. Is it fun to drive? Do bears crap in the woods? They certainly do. And this car is fun to drive, and then some. It may be expensive, but for smiles per miles, it's not doing too badly. Is it worth the extra money for the hybrid drivetrain? Honestly, no, I don't think so. Sorry Suzuki, but I do have to be honest. Yes, I fully appreciate that a mild hybrid system will of course cost more to manufacture, but for over £3,500 more, I'm not convinced. For the amount of money you spend on this car, you could spend a bit more and get a Ford Fiesta ST, and I'm sorry, I know which one I would have. Boot size, rear passenger space, and cheap insurance? So let's cover boot space first. This boot offers 265 litres with the rear seats up and 579 litres with them folded down. Rear space is okay, it's not amazing, but this is a small car after all, so you can't really ask for too much. For someone of my height, it is a little bit cramped though, so if you're a tall person, I'm 6'2", that's worth bearing in mind. And insurance. This car is insurance group 28, whereas the old car was actually insurance group 35. So this theoretically should be cheaper to insure, but because the non-hybrid model is now a used car and therefore less valuable, it is actually cheaper to insure that car compared to this car. Although, well, it was for me anyway. I did some insurance quotes last night, and the non-hybrid model was a little bit cheaper. Not massively, but it was cheaper. 0 to 62? So 0 to 62. Suzuki states that this will do it in 9.1 seconds, which is actually 1 second slower compared to the non-hybrid model. However, Suzuki is known for underestimating their 0 to 62 time, so I will be doing a separate video testing how fast I can get this to 60 miles per hour. It has to be 60 because 62 would make it illegal. Any quirks or features? Any quirks or features? I can't really think of any quirks. I suppose the integrated door handles and the C-pillar, they're a bit quirky, but they are practical. You do have a torque and power gauge, which are pretty funky, which you will find in the digital display in front of you, and you also have a boost gauge as well. But apart from that, I can't really think of anything.
What's its electric only range?
Yeah, about that. You can't drive this car on electric only, so its electric only range is, well, 0.
Is it worth the list price when the Fiesta ST exists?
In my opinion, no. Now, of course, I am a fan of fast Ford, so one could argue that my answer will be a little bit biased. However, the Fiesta ST is a phenomenal car, it really is. And this is a good car, don't get me wrong, but when the prices are so similar between the two, I would pay that little bit more and get the ST. Okay, so the standard equipment on the ST may not be quite as generous as this car, and if you wanted to get a car like for like in regard to equipment, you'd have to spend even more money, but I would be prepared to do that.
Is the driving feel different compared to the previous non-hybrid model?
The driving sensation, in all honesty, isn't that different. I know I spoke about this earlier, but I will touch upon it again. To be honest, if you drove the two cars back to back, I don't think you'd notice a massive difference. This feels a little bit more punchy, lower down in the rev range, but that's because of the torque boost provided by that integrated starter generator. And of course, this car's got regenerative braking. So when you lift off the accelerator, you get a battery icon come up, and you can just feel the car just really gently just slowing down as it regenerates the energy that would normally be wasted. Apart from that though, there really isn't that much to separate the two cars, which I suppose is kind of a good thing, because it means that the mild hybrid system hasn't really intruded that much at all on the non-hybrid cars' fun driving performance.
Do you think it's a step back from the previous generation?
This is a difficult question to answer, because as times move on, more and more cars will need to have some form of electrification to keep them future-proof. So it's difficult to say, yes, this does feel like a step backwards, because this has to be a step forwards, because this has to have some kind of hybrid technology, but this does feel like a step backwards. And I know, a die-hard petrol head like me needs to accept that more cars will become hybrid and electric. I fully appreciate that. But from the standpoint of this car is slower and more expensive, when you put it like that, this car has to be a step backwards. So there we have it, guys. Your questions answered. Thank you so much for submitting your questions, and of course thank you so much for watching this video. I do really hope you enjoyed it or you found it useful. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.